Hello there. Welcome to my review of episode 2 of the One Piece live action. Episode 2 covers chapters 8 through 21 of the manga and episodes 4 through 8 of the anime. Here is where we begin to see some of the major truncations to events in the story. The episode covers the Straw Hats' clash with the Buggy Pirates, and it also has the end of Luffy's flashback where he gets his straw hat. It introduces Buggy as the first somewhat real challenge that Luffy faces in East Blue. Buggy steals the show in this episode. His character is perfectly portrayed by Jeff Ward. Sadly, the rest of his crew didn't get that sort of love, as the entirety of the fights with Kabaji and Moji were cut from the show. It's also unfortunate because it removes the first really touching moments in the story. You'd think with the writer's apparent desire to portray this version of Luffy as a full-on hero, they'd be eager to include the Chow Chow plotline. In the original story, it's a great moment that highlights Luffy's kindness and understanding of others. This is the first major moment where Nami realizes that Luffy is a good person and starts to become friends with him. With this plotline omitted in the live action, the bonding between Luffy and Nami is a bit more stilted and much less developed by the end of this arc. The live action adds more scenes of the Marines that were not part of the original story. At Shellstown Marine Base, Koby and Helmeppo are Marine cadets. It skips entirely over there being junior recruits. Garp comes to the base following Luffy's trail and takes over command of the base from Captain Morgan, putting all of the Marines in that base, including Koby and Helmeppo, under his command. Because the live action takes this route, the events of the Koby and Helmeppo cover stories don't take place, and the bond that the two eventually form is postponed. This change isn't too bad at this stage in the story, it just results in Helmeppo being needlessly snippy towards Koby for an extended period of time in the story. However, this change planted the seeds of what would be the massive divergence from the plot for the live action. While Kabaji doesn't get a fight in the live action, it adds a history between Kabaji and Zoro, where Zoro hunted down and killed Kabaji's brother in front of him for the bounty. This history hints at a developing problem that I'm starting to see with Zoro's portrayal in the live action. The show seems to be leaning too hard into Zoro's reputation as a merciless killer. We are 2 episodes into the series, and we already have 2 confirmed instances of Zoro killing. One of them made up whole cloth for the live action, with no real significance to it. In the original story, Zoro is willing to kill, but only when the situation calls for it or when he has been extremely angered. In the story, Zoro holds back and uses non-lethal force on foes that he knows are weaker than him. In the live action, Zoro seems too eager to kill. This, coupled with the removal of scenes that delved into Zoro's kinder side, creates a misconception about the character that I have to imagine is at least somewhat intentional on the part of the writers. They have made Zoro a bit of an edgelord in pursuit of making him a cool badass. Again, keeping in mind that the live-action characters are not meant to be one-to-one recreations of the original characters, this isn't a world-ending situation. It's just something to note. I hope that they dial it back a little bit to something closer to how Zoro is in the original story and future seasons. Another thing that was off in this episode is that we get our first major change to how Devil Fruit power works from the original. Those who know the original anime and manga know that Buggy's Chop Chop fruit has certain limitations, the biggest being that when he is separated, his feet remain affected by gravity, so his feet never float, and his separated body parts must stay within a radius of his feet. These limitations are removed in the live action for the sake of a plot point that will be revealed later on in the season. This is kind of an important element in Buggy's powers in the original story. Thankfully, it doesn't come up again in a big way until far into the story, and it's a small enough deal that it can be brushed over and or retconned if that time ever comes in the live action. The main issue with this is that the live action has opened a door for changing the abilities of Devil Fruits from their original. I hope this doesn't lead to more changing of Devil Fruit abilities down the road. Continuity is critically important in a story like One Piece to a degree not seen in most fiction. If they get sloppy with the live action, their continuity will eventually start to frail and fall apart. The adaptation of the end of Luffy's flashback was solid. The one thing I wish they had kept was the scene of the bandit putting a gun to Shanks' head and Lucky Roo speed blitzing and shooting the bandit point blank in the head. They totally reinterpreted this scene for the live action, and it doesn't come off very well to me. The scuffle following that was decent, and the scene with the Lord of the Coast was really well done in my opinion. The scene where Shanks repels the Lord of the Coast should have had Shanks and Luffy in the water. This has created a bit of confusion among new people coming to One Piece through the live action. Because Shanks is on a boat at the time, they believe that maybe it's possible Shanks had a devil fruit power, and that's what he used to repel the Lord of the Coast. This is one of those instances where a change made in the live action has created a line of theoretical thinking that doesn't fit with the original story and the interpretation that the reader is supposed to take when seeing that scene. Because Shanks is in the water in the original, everyone knows he doesn't have a devil fruit power. So this is just another one of those examples where a detail was sort of glossed over, missed, and or omitted by the live action, and that detail is seemingly small, but it is a critical point in the story for establishing the abilities of a character. Overall, the climax of the fight with Luffy and Buggy is pretty well done. The CGI for Buggy's attacks are really pretty spot on. Overall, the episode does a good job of picking up the baton where the first episode left off and following up. There are some down points, but overall, it's a pretty solid interpretation of the original. The changes are small and not super detrimental to the story in terms of following the source material. But as I mentioned earlier, the marine stuff does plant a seed for something that's going to be a pretty big change and divergence from the original. So that's it for this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.